1. Welcome to the Sitting Alone in a Dark Room podcast. Oh, there we
have
go.
Let there be light.
Let there be light for as long as it lasts. Matthew forgot to charge it yesterday, so we'll see how well you can see me for the majority of this.
It's going to go out right in the middle of a deep moment.
But no, this is not the Sitting Alone in a Dark Room podcast. This is the Dynamic Reviews podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Robinson, and with me, as always, is
Stuart Gardner. I'm here, excited to talk about the movie we have set for today.
And that is, of course, Toy Story 4, if you haven't seen the title of this video. But I don't really have anything today, Stu. I mean, we were talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse being on Netflix, which, if our viewers haven't seen, obviously, since we just spent like an hour gushing about it to each other, we definitely recommend
watching that movie multiple times. Bring tissues.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, for sure. But yeah, let's just jump into this review. Just for people who don't know or are new to the channel, the way we do the review is we're going to give you a short summary of our thoughts on the movie, and then we're going to give you a rating on our scale. So our scale is don't see this movie, catch this movie on stream or TV if it's going to be there. You should see this movie, and you have to go see this movie in theaters. Does that sound about right to you, Stu? You ready to go?
That sounds right.
All right, cool. I'm just making sure. I don't know. It's been a little while. We missed an episode, so
we missed a couple episodes because life got in the way, and Godzilla didn't happen.
Which makes me sad because I really want to talk about Godzilla, but no. Instead, we're here doing yet another kids review. I mean, which is we're really up and down. By the way, we do like Detective Pikachu, John Wick. Now we're back to Toy Story, which which I guess, keeping with the theme of Keanu Reeves, I guess. I don't know.
I know. Is he having, when Matthew McConaughey was in all those movies back a couple of years ago, it was the McConaissance. Is this the Keanu Reeves-sance?
The Keanu-sance has a good ring to it.
Oh, that's way better than anything I just said.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're as tuned into the internet as I am, Stu, but he's become like a super duper meme after E3. Yes, like everyone's in love with Keanu now. And the best part is that like he doesn't even realize it. Like somebody asked him in an interview about it. He was like, they were like, "What do you think of like the internet like making memes of you? You've become like the sweet, like the wholesome Reddit meme of the year." And he was just like, "I'm what now?" Like
He's completely oblivious. Like people are in love with him, man. Like the whole E3 thing, like between that and him being in John Wick and in this movie, and there was a Netflix movie. It was like a romantic comedy that he was in as well. He's just been all over the place.
Yeah. So, man, we said we were going to do a review, and then we got sidetracked. Awful. Okay. All right. Time for the review. What we'll do is we'll do the summary review. We'll give you our rating, and then we'll go into a long tail of spoiler discussion, talking about like in-depth, deep topic of the movie. It's really meant for people who like want to have somewhere to can see what other people thought about the movie, what they thought after you've seen the movie. Or if you're really, really on the fence, you can listen to that and then decide like, yeah, okay, I actually want to see this. So Stu, why don't you hit us off with your summary review?
So the movie, when it was first announced, I was a little skeptical. Because I am a big fan of the Toy Story series. You had Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 that I grew up with. And 3 ended in a way that I was comfortable. You know what I mean? It ended in a way that if they had never made another Toy Story movie, I would have been like, perfect. We're okay. We have our trilogy. We can set it over here, and I can watch it with my kids whenever I want to. But they decided to do this 4th movie, and I was wondering where they were going to go. So the simple gist of the movie is the toys are with this new spoilers for Toy Stories 1, 2, and 3, just so everybody knows. Yeah. Some people I don't know why you haven't seen it yet, but so the toys are with their new owner, Molly, I think her name is. But they're with their new owner, and she is going to school. and I'm not going to spoil it, but like they go on this little adventure right before she goes to school for real, and it's a whole lot of fun. A whole lot of things going on. Woody runs into it's in the trailer. So Woody runs into Bo Peep, who wasn't in the last movie. You kind of find out what happened to Bo Peep, which honestly was a real question for a lot of fans. When we transitioned to movies, people just kind of were wondering where she went. And in this movie, dives full head first into this. Now, the movies 1 through 3 kind of focused on the toys as a whole. Movie 1 was kind of like Buzz Lightyear's movie. He was kind of finding himself. But movies 2 and movies 3 were kind of more of a, hey, these toys are going through these journeys, through these adventures together. This movie, to me, was definitely Woody's movie. So if you are a big Woody fan, it was a strong Woody movie. I feel like it was very much so his movie, and about his story arc and Bo Peep's story arc of the toys that you've been following through all these movies. So Woody and Bo Peep are like the to me the center points of this movie, and it's an amazing movie. I think this movie, it gets all the accolades. So this is a must see in theaters. Bring your kids, bring your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriends, bring everybody you know to go see this movie in the theater while you can, because this movie is everything that you didn't know you wanted that you got.
Wow. Well, I feel a little guilty. So I would disagree a little bit. I would say that this is actually the Bo Peep show, and Woody is just a set piece. Personally,
no,
I think this
I
think
this
think
is about the character. Movie. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, I didn't interrupt you. Okay, calm down. So I think this is the Bo Peep movie, but I think everything you said is great. I thought this movie was dumb, and I didn't like it, but I do think, so this is with a caveat, I hate doing caveat reviews. I will say this, if you have kids, this is a great kids movie. If you are like me and like single, or even just like no kids, like, like I'm not necessarily single, but like if you do not have children, this movie is not worth seeing. In my opinion. So, and that's what we're here about.
Yep. As you can tell, we don't discuss our ratings before the show.
Yeah, definitely. And for people who don't know, Stuart is a father. So like, yes. Obviously this is where we expect to kind of hit into these things. I think this is a fine kids movie. I think it is dumb, and I kind of wish it didn't exist. Like, in general, I'll say this as well before we get into the spoilers. I think as far as movies go, trilogies are okay. If you try to do more than 3 movies, you should have just made a TV show, especially in today's day and age.
I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe has something to say about that.
Yeah, but like no superhero got 3 individual movies. Or like
you mean more than 3?
More than 3. Yeah, sorry, I said that wrong. More than 3. And of the ones that did get 3, like generally speaking, the third one is considered the worst one.
Generally speaking.
What, like Thor 3, Iron Man 3?
Thor 3 was Ragnarok.
Okay, maybe I'm mixing it up with Thor 2 then. Yeah. You're right. Okay. But
there's definitely a weak link in the trilogy in all of them.
Spider-Man 3 comes to mind, though I don't think that was MCU. That was back in the day. Where we're like just happy to have superhero movies at all.
We were just happy that people were excited that there was a Spider-Man movie and it wasn't just the nerds.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Before we get sidetracked, we're gonna go into spoilers. So if you have not seen Toy Story 4, we are probably going to tell you almost the entirety of the plot here, or at the very least, we're going to like talk about all the major plot points. So if you're interested in like a review of the movie from a writing standpoint, or if you're really, really curious why I think this movie's dumb, because it's dumb, then this is the place for you. If you haven't seen the movie and you want to like still have some sense of like surprise and wonder, then turn this off right now. Stop watching. This isn't for you.
But please do come back after you do see the movie and enjoy our conversation, because I can already tell you this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, for sure. It's rare that we disagree this much. So
yeah.
Okay, so Stuart, obviously, I think you're an idiot and wrong. No, okay,
well,
all right.
It's okay, because you can think that and just be completely in your own delusional world where you think for some reason this movie isn't for worth every dime I spent on it.
Okay, which, all right. So, all right. I feel for some reason I feel on the defensive, so I'm kind of like I think I need to start by defending myself a little bit here. So I did chuckle at some parts of this movie. Like I laughed a few times.
Sorry.
Yeah, like I laughed a few times. And we'll get into some of those moments, I'm sure, when we get like more plotty. But like, man, I just felt like the movie was paced kind of poorly. There were some moments that I really didn't like. And like I don't know. I felt like and man, this is a kids movie. Like I know this is kind of dumb to say this, but it felt like the pacing was a little off, and some of the moments were just like too ham-fisted. And because we knew it was Toy Story, like it didn't do anything that surprised me. And so like when there were moments that were supposed to be like conflict or like down moments where you're going to be like, oh, we're going to get this redemption or we're going to do this thing or whatever, and that's going to give you the feel goods again. Like I just knew the feel goods were coming, so it was like I didn't even feel bad when the things happened. And so like and because at no point did this movie ever like take a turn and in a lot of ways reused themes and hits from Toy Story 3, I think that like it was bad.
I have to completely disagree with you.
Okay, all right.
So, so if we go to the villain of the story, right?
So let's do this. If you have like a general thing that you want to say, that's fine. If you want to get into like specific characters and stuff like that, I think we should just like start by going through like the major plot points.
My general thing is I think this movie was touching. I think it did have some callbacks, but as a fourth movie, you have to either have these callbacks for the fans, or what are you even doing here? You know what I mean? Like I once heard someone say that everything after an original movie is fan service. You know what I mean? So like everything after episode 5, A New Hope is basically fan service, because movies initially, nowadays it's a little different, but movies are supposed to be concise. They're supposed to be this one thing. So why not have this fan service? So I love the callbacks to old Toy Stories. I love the some of the similar beats that you get in these Toy Story movies. It felt comforting. It felt warming. But let's dive into the story. Let's dive into the movie so that we can talk about these points and characters.
So obviously, we start off with Bonnie, who is the kid that basically adopts all the toys at the end of Toy Story 3. Andy hands all the toys off to Bonnie, and I was excited to get to like see this a little bit, but like honestly, Bonnie is almost a non-character.
Almost, but she does something so important in the movie. She creates a character that has to go through this whole arc. It goes through a whole arch of understanding.
So basically the first like I think it was like 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, just set up. Like we're seeing Bonnie play with the toys, except for Woody, who kind of gets left in the closet. We see Jessie like become the sheriff as per Bonnie. Yeah, she takes a little sheriff star off Woody and puts it on Jessie, and then she has to like go to kindergarten.
Real quick, the movie actually starts with the loss of Bo Peep, right?
Yeah.
Right. So like that's an important part, because that sets up this whole like, hey, where's Bo Peep been? What are we doing here? They're going to go save race car, or I can't remember the race car's name, but they're going to go save that race car, the little green one, and they go through this whole saving mission and they save him, and then the mom comes in and shuts the window and is taking the Bo Peep lamp which I didn't know she was a part of a lamp. But takes her whole lamp and sticks it in this box, and they get rid of her. And Woody's trying to save her and the sheep, and Bo Peep's like, "No, it's my time." So it's a whole emotional connection there that has always been there between Woody and Bo Peep. And they reestablish it right in the beginning so that hey, this is what happened to Bo Peep. This is why we haven't seen her. This is why she's not with the rest of the toys. And then we go into the kindergarten.
Yeah, and I actually liked that beginning sequence. Like that whole thing, like to me, that was like the part that hit my nostalgia, that like what you said of it felt warm or something like that, warm and comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely liked that part. It did that for me. And yeah, so I also liked that Bo Peep was like okay with leaving. Like it showed her as it really separated her character from Woody, who is like very clingy.
Yeah, I was about to say a level 10 clinger, man.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And I like Woody. I'm just saying, man, he loves his kids. But like, so you kind of glazed over the fact that Woody didn't get played with, that we saw Jessie become the sheriff, and that's cool. I think that was because she's a girl, she was playing with more of the female toys. You saw that type of thing, and she was picking up all these other things. But like right there in that first part before we go to kindergarten, Woody is trying to deal with the fact that he hasn't been played with in weeks. He's coming to the realization, like in the very beginning, they're like, toys get lost all the time. Let's take Woody away. Woody run away with me. And Woody thought about it and then saw how Andy was so sad when he disappeared that Woody was like, no, I have to stay with my kid. And now Woody isn't that linchpin anymore. So he's dealing with that emotionally at the beginning of the movie.
So one of the things that, like, for maybe this is why one of the reasons it didn't like hit me as emotionally hard. It's actually 3 days that he hasn't been played with. Like he's like super emotionally distraught about 3 days of not being played with.
But for a toy, man, that's I'm stretching here.
Dude's like Woody's like 60 years old at this point.
Right.
3 days
easily.
Okay. So there's that. And so yeah, like you said, it's basically setting up that like Woody's not the linchpin toy anymore. He's not in charge anymore. Like he's not the original choice. So he's not the boss. There's this other toy that everyone just calls the mayor, which I don't think she has any other name in the movie. But she's like a really kind of like almost like a handmade doll. She's not a super important character overall.
Her name is Dolly, I think, or something like that. I think it's super simple like that. Yeah.
And so that sets that up, and then like the first like sign of conflict shows up, in that like the parents tell Bonnie that she has to go to kindergarten orientation.
Yeah.
And Bonnie kind of throws a fit.
Yeah. Bonnie gets upset because she wants to bring her toys so that she has, some kind of comfort. You know what I mean? And her dad's like, no, we don't take toys to class. We just go. So Bonnie gets sent to class, and they're like, you can't have toys. Well, obviously, as we know, Woody doesn't listen to anybody. So he jumps into the backpack and hides to be Bonnie's little helper as a toy there while she goes to class. So she goes to class, she gets in, and she's walking through these groups that for some reason in kindergarten have already been formed. I mean, I guess they knew each other in preschool, but like whatever. So she gets over to the table by herself, and she's told that she's going to be coloring, and this kid comes over and kind of just like straight yanks her crayons, like without like now I only saw the movie once, and from what I remember, he like comes over with an apple, like takes a bite out of the apple, holds it in his mouth, and just takes all of her supplies. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I remember the story went. And I've been like, that punk ass kid.
Yeah, and here's even worse. Like he does that, and then he like dumps half of the thing in the trash.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing, bub?
I was just like humans are completely irredeemable. This movie has proven
but this movie has never really. This movie, other than the first. No, yeah, this movie has never really. These movies have never been about the humans, so they are what they.
So after he dumps the things in the garbage, Bonnie's like losing it, right? She's about to start crying, and Woody sneaks out of the backpack, throws the crayons out of the trash can to like distract her. She goes to pick them up, and then he like grabs a bunch of the art supplies and some other stuff out of the garbage and like throws it on the desk in front of Bonnie and jumps back in the backpack.
Yes.
And so then Bonnie makes a little it turns a spork into like a humanish thing with like some pipe cleaner and makes this little toy out of it.
Yeah. She makes a toy out of a bunch of trash. It's like some clay, a pipe cleaner, and like those little tongue depressors.
Popsicle stick.
Yeah, popsicle stick. That's what it's called.
And so then she does that and puts it in her backpack, and then it comes to life.
Yeah.
And Woody's surprised. I was surprised, actually. I hadn't seen any trailers for this movie. So I didn't know that like this thing was going to be a character. I was just like, oh, okay. I actually was kind of hoping that like at that point they were going to like somehow explain all the toys come to life and it was going to be a little more meta. But no, it's like, yeah, whatever. It is completely brushed over that like Forky, I think is the name of the character. The Forky comes to life. They're just like, yeah, oh no, that's what happens when kids put stuff together, make anything mildly anthropomorphic.
I think the deeper, maybe I'm looking too deep into this movie because I enjoyed it, but I think the deeper meaning behind it is she attached emotional value to this thing when she put her name on it. When you put your name on something that can be perceived as a toy, it's like breathing life into said object.
Yeah,
so
I mean
that's how I took it.
And that's fine. That's whatever, right? Like, it's actually not a super important thing. So Forky as a character is with us and like is like, oh, I'm trash, and like just once and just like the entire almost the entire movie just keeps trying to jump into the trash cans that are around. And Woody
for at least the whole first act.
Yeah, definitely
the
whole first
easily.
Act. Yeah, and like Woody is trying to keep Forky out of the trash because Woody is in an almost like completely selfless way is like just worried about Bonnie and knows that like Forky's really important to Bonnie, so he refuses to let Forky become trash and like get disposed of. And so like, the whole first like big chunk of the movie, they spend a long time on this, I think a little too long in my opinion. One of the reasons I think the pacing is bad. and like he keeps Forky from throwing himself away. And then they go on this road trip, and we continue this like nonstop sequence of
I'm trying to throw myself in the trash. But that's how the whole adventure gets started, right? So like they kind of linger on it in the beginning, and I think they're just trying to do it for some hijinks, some cheap laughs. But in the middle of that, you see this character development with Woody where he's trying to get Forky up there. He keeps trying to throw him up, and he like finally gets up there, and he has to play dead or play fake. When Bonnie rolls over, and he's like so content and happy to have been hugged and grabbed by Bonnie that he's laying down next to her like he used to with Andy, that he completely almost forgets about Sporky in the middle of the night and wakes up and he's gone. He's already in the trash.
Yeah.
Because he already, because that's what he does. So that's a bit of development that they were trying to build there for Woody. Like, man, he's trying to do this thing for Bonnie, but like on some level, this is for him to feel important.
But to my point about pacing, that sequence that you're talking about, I agree is very important. But that also happens like at the beginning. After that happens, we see that character development, and then we see nothing but like Forky basically attempting to commit suicide for like another like 15 minutes, and it is nothing but that until he like succeeds and like throws himself out the RV window while they're driving down the highway.
Right. You're right. They spend you're right. They spend a good 10 minutes after that moment trying to get him. He's trying to jump in the trash while they're driving down the road. He'll like hop out while they're at stops and stuff, and like you're right. That I can see what you mean there, but I laughed through it. So when I was watching
I didn't super chuckle at like any of that sequence personally. And it's important to note that like this movie is like less than 2 hours. So to spend 10 minutes on anything or 15 minutes is like more than like a quarter of the movie.
True.
True. Like, so it's like that's
a good chunk of the movie.
Yeah. And so that happens, and so then he like jumps out the window, and Woody looks at the GPS and is like, I could do 5 miles.
Yeah, he's like, I could do 5 miles. I'm going, and he jumps out the window as well. And everybody's like, oh no, he went out the window with Sporky. So then Woody and Sporky are kind of marching down this thing, and he's dragging Sporky. I found that very funny for some reason.
Everyone laughed at that. I was like, I don't get it. Like, everyone in my theater chuckled because he would do he would go like step, drag.
Step, drag. Yeah!
I didn't. You're laughing right now. I still don't understand it. I'm sorry.
I don't know. It's hilarious. Like the fact that he's like it's like you're trying to drag this little kid, right? Like imagine you had a child that just doesn't really want to go anywhere, and they like walk a little bit, and then you're like, you have to drag them behind you because you're not going to pick them up. And they're like, just carry me. Because that's hilarious. When Sporky's like, hey, can you just carry me? And he's like, no. It made me think about my daughter, and it was just so funny. Like, he's just, like, he doesn't want to go with Woody. He's having to drag that. I'm sorry, that whole sequence was hilarious to me. And by the end, he's carrying him because, they kind of bond and have this whole conversation about Woody's past. Because the Sporky just keeps asking all these questions, and Woody's like this like exhausted parent that's just tired of dealing with this little child, and just like, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm doing this for a reason. There's a reason I'm doing this. And that to me is one of the funniest parts in the movie.
I mean, I do like, I did chuckle at the part where he's like, you're trash. And like,
yeah.
Because to him, being trash is not bad. He likes the trash.
Yeah.
And then he like kind of realized, like, Woody kind of like makes this thing like, oh, you're like trash for Bonnie.
Right. You're like Bonnie's trash, which is so true in so many different ways,
Yeah. So and like that whole like bonding sequence, I think is actually pretty good. That's one of the like better parts. But then we see this thing where like they finally get caught up. They're in the town. They see the RV park, but then like behind them is this antique store, and it's like late at night, and like lit up in the window of the antique store is Bo Peep's lamp.
Right, and that throws Woody, man. That throws him because this whole time he's had this connection with Bo Peep, and he's feeling some kind of way, and then he's like, oh, wait, is that my Bo Peep? And then he like has to make this decision to end his adventure there and go back to Bonnie, or to find the one toy that we all know he had a connection romantically with, basically.
Right.
And he chooses.
And so they go inside the antique store, and right off the bat, we meet a character who is like note for note actually just the purple bear from Toy Story 3, whose name I can't remember.
That's the thing. That's what you expected. But like, let's get into
exactly that character. Like,
it's Gabby.
Yeah, so Gabby
has these little really creepy looking I don't know what they're called, but those toys that are really creepy that I would never.
Ventriloquist puppets.
Yeah, those things I never in my life. But anyway, she has those kind of henchmen, creepy guys, and that's my point. So you think they're going note for note for the big purple bear? You think that's what they're doing, but at the end of the movie, there's so much that I don't want to jump to the end, but like I have to drive this point home. You think she's just going to be this maniacal, unredeemable character, and Woody makes certain sacrifices, and the end of the movie is just so beautiful with that girl and Gabby.
The purple bear at the end of Toy Story 3 finds a kid and becomes happy.
Yeah,
Note?
Yes.
Almost like it's note for note Gabby from Toy Story 4.
I feel like the purple bear is like, and this is off screen obviously, but like I feel like the purple bear is like not really happy. Like his whole thing was like, he felt like trash, like he was thrown away. And it was a whole issue for him. And I feel like he's still going to have those issues. I feel like Gabby never had the chance. And so there was a level of growth there that I think he didn't. I think it was not done as well for the purple bear, who I can't remember his name. But again,
so okay,
we can.
So I'm misremembering. I had to look it up. So first off, the purple bear's name is Lotso.
Lotso, that's
and
it.
Lotso does not actually end up with a child at the end. Lotso ends up like strapped to the front of a semi truck.
That's what. Okay, I was like, I don't remember.
But bear with me. Even though Gabby Gabby has a redemption arc, up until the literal very end of the movie, she is actually just Lotso. This like sociopathic toy who just like rules this little children like kingdom. Children, in her case, it's a children-less kingdom instead of kindergarten. But like,
right,
really, like Gabby Gabby is like this big evil toy who is queen of this domain, and like here we are again. You know what I mean? Like the only difference here is at the very, very end, Gabby Gabby gets what she wants from Woody. She's still evil AF. Then she gets rejected and like has a redemption arc.
This is the difference for me. I think Lotso, evil AF. Gabby Gabby, not evil at heart. She just has a strong desire. Now, she may be going about it the wrong way. She definitely went about it the wrong way. But at the end of the day, she just truly wanted to be a toy. She wanted to do the most noble thing a toy can do.
But we don't,
and that is bring joy.
But we don't get that until almost the end of the movie. Like we're
that's
in
the point.
Half,
that's the twist.
We're at the latter half of the final act before we realize that like Gabby Gabby isn't just like flipping Lotso.
Right. Well, that's the point, right? The point is to lead you down this one road where you're like, oh, they're doing the Lotso thing again, and then they do this turn, and you're like, oh my gosh.
It's
not.
It didn't hit me like that at all. Like,
really?
I saw that coming, man. Like, especially when she like the whole thing that like gives it away is where she's like, Harmony is my favorite, and I love Harmony, and she's mine. Like, it's like this whole thing. It's like, oh, okay, she just wants to be loved. Like, that's why she's this crazy sociopath. But like, and so when she's like, it's the most noble thing a toy can do. And like, that's what convinces Woody to finally like basically sell, because her whole thing is that like she wants this voice box from Woody to repair her voice box because never had a good name.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And so like that's what convinces Woody to like give up his voice box for Forky at the end.
Yeah. And that's part of Woody's journey as well, right? So like if we get into this whole thing real fast, we find Woody he's dealing with this whole Sporky situation, trying to find Sporky. He finds out that Gabby Gabby just wants his voice box. I forget how they get separated.
So Woody is running away from the ventriloquist puppets, and like is carrying Forky along, and like Forky's arms come off, and Woody doesn't realize it until they're like separation, and Forky's already been caught by the puppets.
Right.
And like he's about to get caught too, but then he like lets go of the arms, pulls his own like voice box string, and drops down to like distract this child. And the child comes
and the child grabs him
and takes him to the park where he escapes the child and meets up with Bo Peep. And for what it's worth, I actually think Bo Peep is like by far the best character in this whole thing. I really like Bo Peep.
I like Bo Peep too. I still think this is more of a Woody because of the character arc, but like don't get me wrong, it's definitely a Bo Peep Woody movie. You know what I mean? Because Buzz Lightyear, there's this other story off to the side where Buzz Lightyear runs into Bunny and Duck, and which steal the show. Key and Peele, by far one of the funniest people on the face of the planet. They steal the movie. Every scene they're in, they just totally crush it. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I'd say steal the show, but I did thoroughly enjoy them. And I did like all the scenes they were in. I do want to say this about Buzz Lightyear that really annoyed me right off the bat, is it seems like Buzz Lightyear Buzz, like you said, movie one, Buzz Light. It's the Buzz Lightyear movie. He goes through this big character development, and like by Toy Story 3, Buzz Lightyear is actually like this like mature and like fairly intelligent
competent
toy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then like somehow in this movie he just like fucking forgets all that.
Yeah.
And like,
I'll give you that. The I think that was my biggest issue with the movie. The whole like, your inner voice, huh? Tell me about that. Oh, okay. Well, let me listen to my inner voice. You know what I mean? Like that whole thing. Like, I know what they were trying to do there, but they should have done it with a more intellectual Buzz. I don't know how you do that. I'm not a screenwriter.
Think you can. I mean, I think that's why they dumbed him down. But that's like my thing is that like his whole shtick through the movie is that like he keeps pushing his buttons to hear his inner voice, and it gives him some stupid Buzz Lightyear quote, but is also like relevant to whatever situation he's in.
Right.
But in the like he doesn't do the whole like, oh, I'm actually a space ranger thing, but he's like only like half a step like behind that. Yeah. Like it's kind of ridiculous. And I remember that he had the like story thing in Toy Story 3 where he like got reset.
Yeah.
But I thought they like unreset him by the end of that movie, and maybe I
thought they did too.
Okay.
And maybe that's something we're missing. I know that in Toy Story 3 he definitely got reset, so he thought he was Buzz Lightyear again. You know what I mean? Yeah. In every movie, come to think about it, in every movie, because in the second Toy Story there's like another Buzz Lightyear and he thinks he's a ranger and he's not a toy. And so every movie there's a version of Buzz Lightyear that is not, that thinks he's Buzz Lightyear. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, Starks, man. So like this movie, I was kind of disappointed of the way they tried to, I guess, play that part of the character. And I agree. I did not enjoy the way they dumbed him down.
But so he's the one who meets Key and Peele. Key and Peele? Peele and
you all right over there? Did you just have a stroke?
Is it Key? Is it Key and Peele? Is that how you say it?
Peele.
Okay, all right. I've never watched their like show. I've only seen clips. So look, man. Okay, yeah, okay. Burn me at the stake. I get it.
Okay.
So the whole Key and Peele thing is good, and he meets them, and they like go off and they have some funny moments.
Yeah.
And eventually they like meet up with Woody, and Woody's like, "Oh yeah, do the Key and Peele characters actually ever get names?"
Yeah, it's Ducky and Rabbit.
Ducky and Rabbit. Okay, so Ducky and Rabbit.
Yeah, that's what they call them the whole movie. So they're Ducky and Rabbit.
Are like Buzz promised a kid, and he's like, "Whatever, guys, just come on." Like Woody's like, "I'll introduce you to Bonnie, and we'll do our thing." And so
yeah, like they try to drag him along and do the whole Bunny and Ducky, but like they try to do the whole like, "Hey, we'll just add you to our toy group" thing.
Yeah. So they do that, and that's cool. And that's fine. So like they're sneaking back into the antique store basically at this point with Bo Peep, right. And Bo Peep like obviously knows the store, right? Like she knows the deal. And so she's like, follow the plan, just follow my lead, and then like Woody keeps messing things up is like the gist.
Because he's trying to take lead. He's so used to taking charge that he's having to learn like, hey, this is her realm. She knows what's going on here. I have to defer to her. And that's kind of what they were trying to hit there. They kind of hit it a couple times, which was, its own thing. But they go through this whole thing. Man, mind you, I did love the little Pocket Sue thing, the little dolly thing that was hanging out with Bo Peep, the little tiny girl, tiny.
Yeah.
She had some funny moments. I just wanted to throw that out there. But like, they go into this pinball machine where all these toys are hanging out. And it's actually really cool when they meet up with Duke is his name? Duke Kaboom?
Yeah, Duke Kaboom. Keanu Reeves' character.
Yes. Oh, man. I loved it.
That leads to the second time I legitimately laughed when he goes, "Yes, we Canada." And all right. That one got me.
I definitely laughed during that. I laughed throughout this whole movie. So anytime I'm sure you laughed, I promise you I laughed. I wanted to get to this one point that I think is probably the second funniest part in this whole movie, and that's when Bunny and Duck are like talking about how they're gonna get the key from the old lady, and I did not see that coming. Where they just attack her in the face, and every time it was just as funny. And then she goes home. There's this whole thing.
Yeah, the plush rush. She goes home,
and it was hilarious. That was the second funniest part in the whole movie behind the "I'm dragging this kid behind me" scene. Like, I love that scene. That's hilarious.
I did enjoy that, and I liked that they're like telling the story, and so you're seeing the old woman do all this stuff, and you keep waiting for them to like jump out, and they never do.
Right.
And then they like also the weird scene where she like does the like bubble bath with the wine, like.
Right.
And they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Don't ruin this for us, okay?" And then like, and then they sleep and they like rise up and they look.
Yeah.
That got me pretty good. That got me pretty good.
Man. I laugh a lot, but this movie really had me gut busted, man. They had some really, really funny parts. And that's the thing, right? Like, not only is this a great kids show, I think there's enough in this movie for adults to get a good kick out of it. I mean, it was hilarious, especially if you have kids and you understand like some of these kids jokes they're throwing in about Woody and Sporky. Just priceless.
I think that goes back to my point. I think this is a hardcore. This is a family movie. This is for people with kids because the kids are going to love it. The parents are going to love it because it is very much like it is a movie for parents. I am not a parent, and so a lot of like honestly that like scene where Forky's doing the tap 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 drag, like it didn't even connect in my mind that was like supposed to be like a reluctant child. Can you carry me? Like it didn't even hit for me because like I've been around kids before, but I've never.
No, I get it.
No, that's not part of my life, right? And so I think that's why I feel this way. That like overall, I think the movie plot wise is extremely predictable. I think it is. It has no moments that surprise me, and actually, even the thing. So throughout the whole movie, I'm thinking like, not throughout the whole movie. I'm sorry. After we meet Bo Peep, and she kind of like suggests that Woody is a lost toy, like at the very first time they meet, right?
Right.
I'm like, oh, I really hope that Woody doesn't just go back to Bonnie and that he ends up going on an adventure with Bo at the end of this.
Right.
But like, the only reason I thought that was like, well, that would be a unique thing. That would be something different, and that would show the character growth. But like, I saw that coming from that point, right? Now, I wasn't sure that they were going to give that to me, so like, I saw it coming, and that like, I thought that's what they would do. But I also wasn't like confident. It wasn't, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you like,
no, I get it.
Like predict a plot point. You're like, this is exactly what's going to happen next. I can almost write this dude's line, right?
Yeah.
Like
no.
It wasn't like that, but I did like see that as what was coming. And of course that's what they gave me, and I'm glad that they gave me that. But again, I think the movie is just like it's not interesting enough, it's not complicated enough, and it's not quite funny enough that like I enjoyed this.
I understand what you're saying, where you're coming from, right? Like, but you're kind of, and I'm not, trying to bust your balls here, but like you're kind of attacking the same point from two directions, right? You're saying I wanted this to happen, but when they gave you what you wanted, you were kind of like, oh, I saw that coming. So like you're like, this is what I kind of hope they do. I hope that he doesn't just go back to Bonnie. I hope they don't kind of pull Bo Peep on board with Bonnie. Well, but like when they give you kind of what you want, you're like, that wasn't really. And to me, I'm the same way. I was kind of hoping that like, oh, I wonder if Buzz is going to go with Bo Peep on an adventure. I hope they don't bring Bo Peep back to the place with all these other toys, because that would make no sense to me. But if they do that, I'd get it. And they gave me that, and I was happy about what they gave me. I guess that's the difference, right?
Well,
like, to you.
So, I mean, I say that I wanted them to do that. I think I misspoke. I predicted that's what they were going to do, and then I said, well, they could also make it so that Bo comes with everyone. And out of the two options, I don't want them to do that. I want them to keep Bo as this interesting independent character and make Woody grow into something else. But I also...
That's why I love this movie. They forced Woody to grow into something that he has not been since the 60s when he was created. That's the love. That's what I love about this movie. Sorry, go ahead.
But I think that's... But my point is that, like, even though that was the plot that I wanted, that was the plot I saw coming from a mile away, so it felt like in a lot of places in this movie, since I was so easily able to see what was coming, it just felt like I was sitting through a bunch of like exposition for nothing, because it was like, like just get to this point, like get to this part, like I get it, like whatever, like the whole thing where like especially and like the worst like offender of this is like when they like try to save Forky and everything goes wrong and they barely make it out.
Right.
And then Woody's like, I'm going back for him. Like Woody's going to go back for him. And then everyone like abandons him. But like, and it's supposed to be this like sad, like, man, I can't believe everyone would ditch Woody like that. Even Buzz did. But like, and all in all, it was just like, yeah, this is dumb because like Bo is going to turn around and try to help save the day. Woody's going to like either somehow make a deal with the voice box or is like going to get Forky out some other way. And they even didn't even like leave a mystery about how they were going to escape the antique store, because they show you the backpack like really early on. Like as soon as Buzz shows up, it's like, oh, the backpack's here. It's like clearly like, oh, okay, she left her backpack. That's how they're going to get out.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just felt like they gave too much away too quickly. And so then like everything in between was just a bunch of like, we're going to put animation in pretty colors and a few jokes on the screen. And like, because the jokes were not, to me, funny and often enough, like it just felt like I was sitting through a movie, not watching a movie.
Oh, that's unfortunate, because I think the difference for me was I've enjoyed the movie so much in the small parts that the macro parts, even though I saw some of that coming, they were phenomenal. Like even though I saw some of that coming, I felt like the small parts helped link it together. Does that make sense? Like I feel the opposite of you in that sense. Like when I was in for the whole story arc, so I'm a kind of along for the ride guy. So even though at the beginning when they first meet Bo Peep and the sheep again, and Woody's over there talking about you're a lost toy, well, we can get you a new owner or whatever, and she's like, I don't really need all that, I'm just trying to go travel the world or whatever. At that moment I was like, I hope he goes with her. So I had made my decision like, hey, maybe this is what they're going to do. And to me it was the journey of getting Woody from where he was at that point, where he was an acolyte of being a toy for a child, and seeing how they get him to this point. You know what I mean? So to me, the fun was like, even though I knew the destination, the journey itself was enough for me to be like, oh, that I enjoyed watching Woody's growth. I enjoyed Woody making that sacrifice for Gabby Gabby, because he was like, look, this isn't just for Gabby Gabby. This is also for Sporky. This is also for Bonnie. This is for so many more people, and I don't need my voice box in that regard. You know what I mean? So he gives his voice box to Gabby Gabby. Gabby Gabby goes to her thing, and I knew... No, I didn't. This got me. And it was one of two ways, obviously, but this got me when the girl picked her up, and I was like, oh, they're swelling. At some point in the middle of that, I knew, I was like, oh, she's just going to discard her. But like before that moment, I didn't think she was going to discard her. You know what I mean? And then she discards her, and Gabby Gabby's destroyed, and then Woody's like, come with us, we'll make this work. And I'm like, oh, so they're all just going to go be Bonnie's toys and live happily ever after. And then the little girl in the park gets lost. And I love that moment. That moment where Gabby Gabby sees a potentiality that could go terribly wrong, and for her to have that little story arc in her life from being like, this is really what I want, this is the one I want to be with, this is the person I want to be with, and then that person rejects her, and instead of going with the safe bet with Woody, she takes the leap of faith to go with this random girl that's lost. You know, she's so scared in that moment, and they convince her to, like, it's going to be okay. You're going to do the most noble thing a toy can do. And it works, and it's amazing. And I think
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that twist in the movie, between that twist in the movie and the fact that Woody does leave, and you see the journey from Woody being an acolyte of being a child's toy to wanting to be a free toy, those two story arcs in the movie make it worth it for me. Make it worth, you have to go see this movie. This is a movie that if you are a Toy Story fan, that you see the growth of one of your favorite characters of all time in Woody, and you see the growth of what would have been the villain, the Lotso villain, that turns out not to be Lotso. It turns out to be something more sympathetic.
I would agree that last moment with Gabby and the Lost Child is one of the best moments of the movie. Like like that definitely, that was one thing that I didn't see coming. I actually thought Gabby would go to Bonnie, so I thought that was I thought that was good, and it also like hit me emotionally in a way that I didn't expect. So that was great. But like, you know, you kind of said that, like, oh, you know, I saw the end destination, but for me it was about the journey. The problem was that, like, I didn't just see the end destination. I literally saw the journey. Like, there was no point in the journey where, like, a thing happened that I didn't feel like I was
coming.
Yeah, like, didn't see coming and felt like I was sitting through, except for that last scene with Gabby.
Right.
So I also, for what it's worth, I maybe I should have said this up front, I guess. I don't necessarily consider myself a Toy Story fan. Like, I have fond childhood memories of the first one, but I, like, never watched 2 and 3 until I was much older, and only because, like, they were, like, on, like, someone else had, like, put them on, and, like, I would have never gone out of my way to watch them.
Right.
I didn't actually even want to do this review, so a little tip at the end.
I know. Well, so I am a fan of Toy Story, and I'm not like one of those super fans. Obviously, I forgot that Lotso was taped to the front of a truck. I honestly forgot that. But like, I am a fan. I remember the story arcs of these characters with Buzz, like the arc in between, you know, Buzz in the first movie and Woody's growth, and Woody and Buzz seeing how he was in the first movie and the second movie versus the alternate Buzz, you know. So watching these characters grow over time and having to deal with, like, do I want to be a part of a bigger collection, or do I want to be still a part of Andy's life? What is life after Andy? And then they find this, and then, you know, okay, so now we're child's toys, but is there more to being a toy, or more to life in the grand scheme of things? Is there more to life than just being a child's toy, you know? And that can speak to us as people. And again, maybe I'm diving in too deep, but like, there's more to life than what you're supposed to be. I think Thor's mom said it best in Endgame. Everybody fails at what they're supposed to be. You know what I mean? So like, be who you are type thing. And I think that's a wonderful message that I think gets represented in this story very, very well.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is one of the few times where we're just gonna, like, have totally different opinions and have to agree to disagree on this one.
I agree. I would just in short, in closing, I think this movie is a little bit deeper than some, not just you, but some people would give it credit for. And I think that the few twists and turns, and I think it's funny enough to keep you interested, to keep you involved in the story, and not take you out of the movie too much, for me.
So now that we've done a kids movie, next week we're clearly going to be reviewing some super violent action flick, just to keep with our theme of 1 and 1.
Yeah.
But
probably some horror movie.
Yeah. But I think that's what we're gonna call this one. This has been the dynamic review of Toy Story 4. My name is Matthew Robinson. You can catch me everywhere on the internet as Chasing Logic.
And I'm Stuart Gardner, and I'm either Stuart Gardner 57 or just Stuart Gardner all over the internet. Twitter, Facebook, find me.
All right, adios, amigos.